Now I will tell you about the man who conquered death by surrendering to it and became more alive than anyone who ever lived. Ancient China, 6th century BCE. An old man sits in the imperial archives, surrounded by records of every emperor, every hero, every immortal who ever lived. And he notices something they all missed. Every person who desperately tried to live forever died. Every emperor who sought immortality elixirs died. Every warrior who fought death with violence died. Every sage who meditated for decades to escape death died. The harder they grasped for life, the faster it slipped away. So Lao Tzu, the keeper of archives, the man who saw every pattern, made a decision that changed every way that actually matters. The immortality paradox. Here's what Lao Tzu discovered in those dusty scrolls. The people who try to preserve themselves disappear. The people who let themselves go endure. Look at the emperors. They built massive tombs, hired armies to guard their bodies, created elaborate rituals to ensure remembrance. Where are they now? Dust, forgotten names, museum exhibits. Now look at Lao Tzu. He built nothing, left no tomb, no empire, no institution, just 5,000 characters on bamboo scrolls. And 2,600 years later, everyone knows his name. He wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "He who clings to life will die. He who lets go of life will endure." If you want to be given everything, give everything up. This sounds like mystical nonsense until you understand what he actually means. What Lao Tzu actually meant by accepting death. Lao Tzu wasn't talking about literal physical death, though that's part of it. He was talking about ego death, identity death, control death. Here's what he meant. 1, death of the need to be remembered. Most people live their entire lives trying to be remembered. Legacy, impact, making a mark on history. Lao Tzu said, let go of that. The moment you stop needing to be remembered, you do things worth remembering. Why? Because you're no longer performing, no longer calculating, will this make people remember me? You just create, flow, exist. And paradoxically, that's what lasts. 2, death of fixed identity. People cling to who they think they are. I am a doctor. I am successful. I am strong. That identity becomes a prison. Lao Tzu taught, the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. Translation, the moment you define yourself, you limit yourself. Accept the death of your fixed identity. Be fluid. Water doesn't say, I am a river. It just flows. Sometimes river, sometimes ocean, sometimes cloud. That's immortality. Constant transformation. 3, death of control. The ultimate death Lao Tzu asks you to accept. You don't control anything. Not outcomes, not other people, not even yourself, really. Most people spend their lives white-knuckling reality, trying to force it into their shape. Lao Tzu says, let go. By letting go, it all gets done. When you accept you can't control life, that death, change, loss are inevitable, you stop wasting energy fighting the inevitable, and suddenly you have all this energy for actually living. How Lao Tzu practiced this? This wasn't just theory for Lao Tzu. He lived it. He gave up the most powerful position in China. As keeper of the imperial archives, he had access to every secret. He could have manipulated emperors, shaped policy, built an empire of influence. He walked away, climbed on a water buffalo and disappeared into the mountains. No legacy building, no institution, no disciples begging him to stay. He let it all die. And by doing so, he became the most influential philosopher in Chinese history. The ultimate paradox, the man who wanted nothing gained everything. The man who built nothing created the most enduring philosophy. The man who disappeared became impossible to forget. The emperor who chased immortality and failed. Let me tell you about Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the man who did everything Lao Tzu warned against. Qin unified China, built the Great Wall, created the Terracotta Army, 8,000 life-size soldiers to guard him in death. But he was terrified of dying. He sent expeditions to find the elixir of immortality, hired alchemists, consumed mercury thinking it would make him live forever. He died at 49, poisoned by his own immortality treatments. His empire collapsed immediately. His dynasty lasted 15 years. Now compare that to Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu accepted death, sought nothing, built nothing, left nothing but words. His philosophy has survived 2,600 years and is still growing. Who was immortal? The emperor who desperately grasped for life, or the philosopher who let it go? Why accepting death makes you powerful? Here's the secret Lao Tzu understood. Fear of death makes you controllable. Think about it. Every system of control uses death, literal or metaphorical, as a threat. Obey or you'll die. Work harder or you'll lose everything. Follow the rules or you'll be destroyed. What if you're not afraid of losing everything? What if you've already accepted that you'll die? That your identity will dissolve? That control is an illusion? You become ungovernable. Lao Tzu wrote, "Akidinino." When people don't fear death, how can you threaten them with death? This is radical freedom, not reckless, not suicidal, but free from the fear that keeps most people trapped. The modern version of this: you don't have to become a hermit to apply this. Here's what accepting death looks like today. In career, most people cling desperately to job titles, status, security. If I lose this job, I'm nothing. Accepting death: I am not my job. If this ends, I'll float to the next thing. Result: you stop being controlled by fear. You negotiate better. You take creative risks. You leave toxic situations. In relationships, people cling to relationships out of fear of being alone. If they leave me, I'll be destroyed. Accepting death: all relationships end, through breakup or death. I'll love fully now without desperate clinging. Result: you love more freely, less neediness, more presence. In identity, people attach to who they were. I used to be successful, attractive, important. Accepting death: who I was is dead. Who I am now is temporary. I flow. Result: constant reinvention. No midlife crisis. Adaptation instead of rigidity. In goals, people become their goals. If I don't achieve this, I've failed. Accepting death: I work toward goals without attachment to outcomes. Result: more creativity, less anxiety, better actual results. The ultimate freedom. Lao Tzu's secret wasn't complicated. Everything you're afraid of losing, you're going to lose it anyway. Your youth, your health, your status, your relationships, your life. Fighting that truth doesn't change it. It just makes you suffer. But accepting it, that's freedom. You can finally stop defending, stop clutching, stop performing. You can finally just be. And ironically, that's when you become truly alive, because you're not wasting energy fighting the inevitable. You're pouring all your energy into the present moment. That's what Lao Tzu did. He didn't fight death. He flowed with it. He didn't try to preserve himself. He let himself transform. He didn't build monuments. He wrote words and walked away, and he became immortal. The final teaching: want to know Lao Tzu's last lesson? The secret to immortality is not caring about immortality. The moment you stop needing to live forever, in memory and legacy, in impact, you start doing things worth remembering. The moment you accept that you'll die, you start actually living. The moment you let go of everything, you finally have everything. This is the paradox at the heart of the Tao. Gain by losing, live by accepting death, become immortal by not trying. Lao Tzu disappeared 2,600 years ago. Nobody knows where. Nobody knows when he died, but he's more alive today than most people walking around, because he understood the secret. You don't become immortal by refusing to die. You become immortal by accepting it completely and then living anyway. So here's the question: what are you clinging to that needs to die? What identity, what status, what control? Let it go and watch yourself become immortal.